But I just want to start off by saying, how you doing? Like, just genuinely, how are you doing? How are you?
Whew. Um, yeah, great question, Matt. I think I am, I'm well, man. I'm well. Definitely, um, coming off a lot of challenges personally. Um, but I think through really just being intentional about being in the Word and being in my quiet time with the Lord, um, I've started to find a lot of solitude or solace, in the midst of all the craziness. Um, so yeah, I'm well. Um, not super high, not super low. But yeah, just doing okay.
That's dope. And I love that. The importance of quiet time, importance of finding yourself within God, no matter what, in the high, in the low, even when you're in between. And I think I can definitely relate to that. Um, I know you didn't ask me how I am. Kind of feel left out, so I'm just gonna tell you I am still. I'm playing, but it's the same kind of feeling. It's like we came out of last year, and it's like, yeah, it's been a tough year. And you come into this year, and it's like not much has changed, right? But one thing that stays constant is God. It's His presence in our life, and kind of realizing and picking out that so much more could have gone on, but I survived, and I'm here, and that's because of Him. So staying close to Him in that quiet time, in that space, I think is super vital and super dope. So I appreciate you saying that, actually. But I know who you are. I'm very familiar with who you are. I've done my research, but a lot of people watching this now might not have an idea of who you are. So could you just like please tell them who you are and what it is that you do and what actually brings you to the show today?
Okay. Well, um, my name is Tshepo Rance. Um, I am the founder of a Christian music collective called Blessed Music. I've been doing it for about coming on to 4 years now. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is just glorify the Lord through the gifting that He's kind of inspired through many musicians all over the world, and I really just pushing the gospel through music, but doing it innovatively and doing it in a way where Christ is at the forefront, whilst at the same time just being eclectic about it. Just um, getting different kinds of music from different places and showing people that gospel music doesn't necessarily have to fit into a specific box, but instead we've got so many people from all over the world doing different things, but yet Christ remains the same through it all. So yeah, that's it really.
I dig that, and I think for me it's such an honor to have you here. Because
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
yeah, I've been on the blessed tip, and I've spoken about the blessed tip and put so many people onto it for a long time now. I genuinely don't believe it's been 3 years. It feels like it's been more, man. I feel like I grew up on blessed, but like it's crazy. It's actually crazy.
That's crazy,
It's
bro.
it's wild. It's actually wild. I think my sister will be shocked as well to think only no ways can be 3 years. You know what I mean? But it's it's been such an outlet, and like you're saying, uh, trying to find music from different spaces and different genres and just putting it all together. The one thing that remains constant in all of that is God. And I know for me, Bliss was really dope because before uh, my complete conversion and transformation in terms of lifestyle and committing to God, there was a lot of circular music that I was listening to, and I think I loved hip hop, I loved R&B, I loved Afro beats, and when I was like, I need to stop listening to this music, I didn't find that in the Christian space, and then Blessed came, and it's like it's everything you ever wanted and more, but glorifying God at the same time. So I enjoyed that and I loved it, and I appreciate that about your channel. But I think my question in that is, what was your reason for starting Blessed?
Yeah. Well, much like you, I had a similar experience. Um, Having grown up in the church, um, church was very much just um, a means of appeasing my parents for so long until I really understood the enormity of what Jesus did on the cross, right? And obviously, I had to go through a lot, living in the world, um, being exposed to certain uh, lifestyles. But um, one thing that was always constant in the midst of that was my love for music. Um, and previously, I used the word eclectic because I generally had an eclectic taste in music. I had a very, very broad taste in music. And I know that's something that's very common these days with Spotify playlists and all of that, or just streaming platforms in and of themselves. But for me, the way I grew up, my dad, mm, he had many different types of music in the house, and we were exposed to that as a kid from, um, like, I don't know if you know who Michael Bublé, Josh Groban, to Chris Brown, and just general R&B stuff to, um, to, I don't know, like, just having grown up, in South Africa, I was in environments where I was growing up listening to stuff like Green Day and like Simple Plan and super like rock bands as well. So yeah, very eclectic, but very worldly as well. And I think, when I came into the faith and I gave my life to Christ and I understood what Jesus did on the cross and gave my life to him, um, it was a real big conflict in my heart because I was looking at Christian music and I saw it under three categories, right? I only knew it really to be gospel, the stuff that my parents or my dad would play in the house. I knew it as Christian contemporary music, which was the Hillsongs, the Bethels, which again, well, both of those things were great, but it wasn't necessarily in line with um, the kind of taste that I had. Um, and then the third was Christian hip hop, which at the time I felt was very archaic. Um, Although the messages, I thoroughly enjoyed, the message of it all, but I felt like they were very much living in the early 2000s when music had progressed significantly. So I wasn't necessarily interested in that. And I remember for me, I actually deviated from conventional music, um, like chart music, and I started enveloping myself in independent music. And this is still secular, but independent music specifically on a platform called SoundCloud. And I say a platform called SoundCloud because a lot of people might not even know really what SoundCloud is now because it's not as prominent as the Apple Music, the Spotify, etc. But I say it was actually the beginning of those streaming platforms, and it still exists now, but it's almost a barren wasteland of of a time that used to be so great. But I say specifically SoundCloud because that's where I felt like music was its most authentic. Independent artists could just express themselves more. There was no formal rollout. There was no yeah, lights and smoke and mirror. It wasn't crazy like that. It was just, I've made music. I'm gonna share it in this moment. What do you guys think? And there was also that feeling of community, right? So for me, I always, well, there was a time, maybe a good 5 years before I created Blessed. There was a time where I really enveloped myself in independent music, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was always the type of person to be sharing music with my friends, and I was the quote unquote plug where I would always discover new music I love the feeling of discovering more so than I did just I don't know, just having, yeah. So discovering, kind of finding that gem and then sharing it and seeing the expressions of my friends. So that was it for so long for me, and I was doing it in that space. And then just to get back to answering your question, how did Bless come along? So after having given my life to Christ, I um I thought, well, I actually ended up making a platform, um, a channel, YouTube channel that's actually the same under the same name, email as what Blessed is currently, but it was for secular music at the time. And I remember starting up the channel. My brother had helped me, and not too long afterwards, the Lord just spoke to me and gave me strong conviction that I should stop what I was doing and pursue him instead. And I didn't know what that meant because, like I said previously, my perspective of Christian music was very narrow. Um, and he led me to really just combine my passion for independence and SoundCloud, and just seeking out music with my love for him to then find artists that were like-minded, um, and create the platform that is blessed. So yeah, it really just came together from my desire to pursue the Lord, but to also find artists who may not have been established, but were doing some incredible things for the Lord and creating music that was just different. Um, and yeah, I think that was kind of the inception of it. But yeah, so much more to follow there.
Yeah, I actually can't wait. I'm gonna ask about that. Like what else can we expect from Blaze in the coming years? But you mentioned something so cool, and it's like the kind of artists that you guys are working with are people who just love to make music. Um, and like a lot of the times I've seen, I don't know if it's a coincidence or that's the reality of it, but I've seen you guys display work for artists, and it's literally just one song. It's like just one song by that artist, and then you can never find them again. Like they have no social media. They aren't like, but they just, I guess, in that time God worked through them to create that piece and share it with the world, and it does its job. It does its piece. I think that's very such a different thing that I see with you guys. It's not like we're trying to get the best of the best, the creme de la creme. It's like if it's got a message that's good, we want to put it out there, and I really love that about what you guys are doing.
Appreciate it. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean that's what it's always been. Um, at least for me. Like I said, I deviated from the superstar mentality of the billboards and the Hot 100s, and I really focused on the independence and what value they brought as just creatives in and of themselves. So when I came to Christ and I pursued this, um, it was really just, Lord, just lead me to the right people. I don't care about who they are in terms of status, how reputable they are in a space, but more so, what their heart is, in the music. And, yeah, uh, yeah, you said it, bro.
So
But,
how does it work?
but
That's like
that's it.
what I'm mostly interested about. I've always wondered how you come across these artists or how they come across you, how you end up collaborating. Like, what's the process like?
So, initially the process was, like I said, it was me going out searching for, um,
You must have been a ton of work,
music.
bruh.
You see, now what people perceive as work is really just fun for me because at the time I was studying law, and I was kind of going through all of the rigor of kind of putting that all together and going through the classes, going through all of the formalities of university. And I found this as my refuge, right? To actually just take a break from everything. So what people perceive as work, especially with regards to finding music, that was actually my passion. My passion was finding the music and sharing the music. So it never felt like work. And for me, it was also going into, funny enough, it was actually going to other people's playlists that I didn't know to find out what they were
What they were
listening
listening to.
to exactly. So it's so funny because really Blessed is built on the foundation of playlists by other people, and they may not even know it. You know,
Oh
you
my
know what I mean?
days. Uh-huh.
You know, and but the thing is, nobody cares to really do the work, right? To actually go and find or search and rummage through it. It's like going through like a back in the day, going to like a CD store and going through all of the CDs like that until you find. Remember back in the day when they used to have those booths where you could actually like put the CD in and listen to it and get some kind of previews of CDs, etc. But I remember going into some of these CD stores, you know, you can sometimes, right? So 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 you so you can you could go and get the top 100s like there on display, or you could really be intentional about rummaging through all of the music that is or isn't being recognized and actually finding the gems. So that's what I kind of that's the kind of mentality I had, but from a digital space um to initially find the artist that the Lord led me to. So yeah, that being said, how does it work formally? So it started like that. It started with just finding because I didn't have any kind of ties to the space, to the industry. I didn't really know anyone. I hadn't really listened to the music, but it was just that, finding songs through SoundCloud, reaching out to artists. Then I reached out to a plethora of artists, and very few of them came back to me. And I pitched them the idea of Blessed and what I was trying to do. But sadly, we also live in a time where if you don't have any kind of leverage
Yep.
behind you, if people can't see um,
Oof.
as clearly or the
What
vision
they
as
can get
clearly
out
as
of
you
it as
can,
well.
right,
You
right.
know.
What can I get
Mm.
out? And imagine being a huge established artist. What can I really get out of a
Mm.
platform that has next to no uh, subscribers or
Mm.
followers? Um, and yeah, sadly, that's just how it is. But there were few artists who did reach out to me, and um, yeah, those are the artists who I'm just so grateful for because it wasn't even just a case of reaching out for music's sake, but it was being intentional about fellowshipping, right? And actually having hours worth of conversations. The music was great and it is great, but you really want to get to understand the heart behind, the music that's being created. So, um, for me, it was building relationships at the beginning, and it was finding the music through SoundCloud, building the relationships, sharing the music, and as things began to progress, I did find that I was doing less of that because more people were submitting to a now established platform. But I realized most recently that as much as I appreciate the submissions, um, I have a passion for curation. It's less so about, if you can submit a song, the song will be featured, but more so, you know, let me get back to the old roots of actually just seeing what's going on. And then wherever the Lord leads me, I want to be able to reach out to this person and say, yeah, we have a platform. So people ask how it's done formally. Technically, people can email, and a lot of the time, I may or may not see the music, or I may not listen to the music, but I just know that the Lord will lead me through all of this enough to find the music at the right time, find the artist at the right time. So there's no formal way in which people can get their music onto the platform. Even people I've worked with in the past, it's not that every single song you release is going to be on the platform. It's wherever the Lord leads me, man, and whatever the Lord leads me to share will be shared. But yeah, just keep doing your thing for the Lord, and I'll, bless will find you. You know what I mean? Bless will find you at the right time. At the right time. You know?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's very much well said, and I appreciate you sharing that and opening up about it. But you kind of go on and talk about how you did a lot of work. Well, okay, we don't call it work. It was fun for you, but reaching out to these people, and not getting so many responses back at the beginning. But now it's kind of flipped roles where people are now reaching out to you and wanting your attention. How does that kind of feel? How does it feel to have that kind of change and like just see God working in that way, where people didn't respond at first, but you kind of remained committed, and now it's just like an overwhelming amount of emails coming through for work that could potentially be on the platform. How does that make you feel?
I, yeah, that's a good question. How does it make me feel? Um, I think I still have um a very similar mentality to what I initially had when I started this. So the idea of people coming and wanting to be a part of what we're doing, I really just have to go to the Lord about these things. And there's a lot of discernment that comes with that too, because you also question um, the motivation, um, of individuals. Um, so I just seek the Lord for discernment. It's not something, it's actually overwhelming in all honesty. Like, it's not something that I'm jumping for joy at. Sometimes I keep thinking, man, I wish I was back in those days when this was in its infancy and things were simpler. Because it is a lot, to get messages from people constantly, throughout all different platforms now, trying to collaborate, trying to be part of what's happening. And I think the biggest thing is to exercise discernment and really just move according to the pace that the Lord is giving you, instead of just jumping um, from one opportunity to the next. And yeah, yeah.
That
Um,
must take a lot of discipline, man.
oh, bro.
That must take a lot of discernment, a lot of wisdom as well. Like, I can't imagine it being easy.
Not at all, bro. And I will say that, like, this took time to understand. So it wasn't just, I came out the bat with this kind of mentality. Like, there was a lot of failure to get to the point of understanding. I'm still learning. Um, but yeah, it's just understanding, okay, you know, um, just focus on what the Lord has called you to do, and He will add everything to that as we keep going. So,
Yeah, that's pretty dope, and I appreciate you sharing that. It makes sense. I think for me, uh, it's crazy that you say you're still learning about it now, given how much growth you've had. But for me, it's a fear. It's kind of like something that I constantly think about. It's like, what happens when things change? How am I gonna react? I'm constantly praying to remain the same, you know, because it's very easy. I think I've seen it one too many times. You kind of start out at the bottom, and it's all humility because you're trying to get up there. But once you do get up there, you're a changed person, and like you don't talk to the same people no more. And I mean, it makes sense. You're a busier person, but I've definitely seen people change. It can consume you, even subconsciously. So seeing you, and you're not the first person I've sat down with who's maintained that kind of stability and mentality through their growth. And I think it's mind blowing to see, but I think then it screams to me it's possible. You know, it's definitely possible to grow and kind of remain on the ground, not feel like you're cloud nine. Or
Yeah. No, man. It was gonna come eventually, bro. But the Lord will prepare you for it, you know. And He will never give you anything that you can't handle.
100%. But then I'm wondering that when you started it, when you started Blessed, did you expect it to be where it is today? Honestly, truthfully, did you hope for it to be where it is today? 200,000 subscribers. Just like let that sink in.
Yeah.
There are towns and cities in the world with less population than the amount of subscribers that you have, bruh.
Yeah, but firstly, but all the glory to God, man. Like these aren't even
100%.
these aren't even like
100%.
when I even I don't attribute these people to being my subscribers, anything like that. But I do want to say, did I ever think that it would become, bro? I honestly did not. Like I tell people, I'm as surprised at all of this as everyone else is. You, you know, in all
I love it.
in all honesty, bro. Like in fact, for me, man, I was just so content with um just creating a channel, and if a couple of people just like the music that was being shared, that would be great. It was as simple as that. I just wanted people to be edified by the music that I was finding, and for me, I'm not I'm not the type to really the idea of big numbers is actually incredibly daunting for me personally, man. Like, I know, I know people say, people say 200,000. They're like, look, 200,000. And to me, I'm like, yo, 200 more people, 200,000 more. That, so, so it's
uh,
like, it's also understanding the responsibility of it all, man. And I think that's what's most daunting to me. Just the fact that, you know, you have to be even more intentional. Like you can't this isn't just a small little community of people that may or may not, resonate with what's being shared. It's now, yeah, hundreds of thousands of people, which again, you put me in front of like 20, 30 people, but I might feel some type of way,
you
bro.
can't.
So, you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm
Like,
dying.
so, so the idea
Oh,
of that
snap.
many people is just crazy. But again, it's this idea of responsibility um and did I ever think? No, I never thought. Um, I was just following what the Lord had placed on my heart, and whatever came of that came of it. Um, and yeah, to God all the glory, but more responsibility means just ensuring that you're most sensitive to the Spirit in all that you do, so that God can be glorified through it. So yeah, numbers, it's great, but it's nah, it's big.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always love to hear how it makes people feel. You kind of get different responses and different reactions to it, and some people live for it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And some people are like, "Oh, what do I have 200 really?" And they're just really kind of engrossed in their work, right? They do what they do not for the numbers, but really get that message out. And like you're saying, more responsibility. And I think even if it was a small community, man, like even if it was like 100 people on that blessed thing, that's like 100 souls, that you need to make sure don't get the wrong message, aren't fed the wrong doctrine.
Exactly,
So,
bro.
mm,
Sorry, you just said something so important there, because like, bro, just think about what you just said, bro. You said 100 people, bro. That's a lot of people.
that's a lot of
We need
people.
to stop. We need to stop minimizing the even just the 100 mark. Everyone wants. I want the 100,000s. I want the millions. Are you ready for the millions? Really and truly. Like that's a lot. That's so many people. And I get we don't see it behind the screen because we're all operating online. But like, honestly, bro, like I said, fill a room with 100 people, bro, and everyone
Yeah,
feels some,
bruh.
so,
I don't
so
think
we need
my
to
house
start.
can take 100 people.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
think I can fit
right.
100 people in my house,
But,
bruh.
right, most houses can't, bro. Like, but like, yeah, bro, like it's so important to realize that when people say, "Oh, okay, I only have 50, I only have 100," like it's a lot. It really is. It really is, and yeah. Are you ready for the 100,000s to the millions when it comes? Um,
because,
it's
because I literally just sit here now that you mention it that way, I think of just a pure shepherding, discipling relationship. Very rarely do you get an individual, discipling or, being a mentor to like five different people at the same time because it's a huge responsibility. You know what I mean? It's one, two people at most. You know what I mean? So now you're like 10 people, 50 people, 100 people. So I appreciate what you're saying. It's like these aren't my people to begin with. They're not my subscribers. They're signing up and subbing to the Lord's work. And I think you've done a good job. I think you've done a very good job to stay out of the limelight because up until I sent a direct message to Blessed, I had no idea who you were. I had no idea who
yeah.
the man behind Blessed was. So to me, in my head, and I don't know, I think it'd be nice if you could share about that. In my head, Blessed at its capacity is at least a team of 5 people, 5 to 10 people, working around the clock. Someone in marketing, someone in this, someone in that, doing all these things. And I specifically remember sending a message addressing it as a collective, not as an individual. And then lo and behold, just this pretty cool guy, down to earth, responds like, "What's what's going on here, man?" So I think I definitely applaud that, and I think I can learn a lot from that as well. To continually take that limelight and then kind of redirect it, and then point it to God, because I think more often than not, in fact, we can't control how people perceive us. We can't control what they see. So it's very easy for us or for people to become sort of idols, people that like their message is it. Like even pastors in church and leaders in the fellowship, it's like flip, if so and so says this, then that kind of needs to go. But I think it's their responsibility as a leader. It's your responsibility as a person, quote unquote, leading, to take that light and direct it and be like, no, 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 focus on God, focus on God. So I think you've done a good job at that. I don't know how, but you've really stayed low key, and it's commendable. It's really cool.
No, I appreciate that, man. And you're so right, man. I think um for me personally, just to I guess give a bit of context. So prior to actually creating Bless, I had um deleted all of my social media. And when I say delete, I know people are like, oh, I deleted the app. No, no, no. I mean, I literally had no social existence. Again, nothing, no imprint on, no longer an imprint on the internet with regards to myself. And I did that for a whole year of what I thought would be the rest of my life, right? Until Bless came along, right? So for me, I don't I always knew that I never wanted to put myself at the forefront because of what you said, stuff like that, idolatry and all of that. It is very, because we're living in a time where yeah, people really truly have influence, and I think that that's not for me. It's like, yeah, I don't want people to get too caught up about who is involved in what's happening here, but I want people to fall in love with the Lord through what is being done. So um for me, I think it's also partly my personality as well. Um, I am not shy, but at the same time, I don't care to be seen, really, you know. So I think that was just perfect for me because it allowed me to curate as I do, whilst at the same time taking a backseat and allowing people to experience the Lord through all of the other artists. I mean, there's a lot of faces. You know, you don't necessarily have to see mine. so, so, so yeah. That being said, um, I, yeah, I want people to see the Lord before anything, and that's why I don't really do interviews. Of course, you were an acceptance. I mean,
We
yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it. We appreciate it a
uh,
ton, man.
um, exception, not acceptance, exception, but yeah. um, but yeah, but that's just been how I am in terms of kind of who is running or how many people are running. Um, okay, to be to be specific, the answer is there are two answers to that. So to be specific, the answer is one, and it's just me. Right now, the second answer is many other people. There've been many other people who have been so pivotal to the growth of this platform that I could never just attribute it to just me, um, and my work, right? So, there's been so much collaboration externally. There've been I mean, collaboration with artists is the foundation of what is being done, right? Collaboration with creatives is the foundation of the platform in and of itself. But, right, it has been, and it is really just me. But informally, there are people who have really helped out. Um, and that, you know, a lot of times people may see that and think, you know what, this guy's like, this guy must be real good at what he does. Da, 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 da. Right. But the thing is with me, bro, like I realize that that's also my, what they call a hamasha, or like a downfall, right? I
Mm.
like to do things myself, and I feel like I struggle to accept help, which is part of the reason why it is what it is, right? So, um, I, um, and I'm realizing that, I mean, you can talk to many people. I've had this conversation with them many a time, but I realize how important it is to actually fall back and allow those who are most proficient at what they do to help, um, kind of spearhead and help a platform flourish where I can't necessarily. You know, you don't want to be the type of person who does every single thing under the sun, and the moment that you stop operating, this stops operating, right? Right, exactly. So, it's been me. The Lord has allowed me to really pick up and learn things very, very quickly and, skillfully. But at the same time, I understand that there is also a wall for me personally where I can't be as invested in graphic design and, social media market, especially because social media is not really my thing. Although I make an attempt at it, um, I'm not the most proficient person for that job. And as things have started to grow, I've s- well, that's become more and more prevalent, right? So, um, yeah, it's been me for all this time, but it needs to be more people, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, the Lord has really just allowed me. It's just been such a blessing to be able to operate it thus far, or this far. And, yeah, just praying for the right types of people, because you know in this day you can find people. That's not a problem. That's not the problem. It's finding the
The
right people.
mindset.
Right. Right.
Who see your
Um,
dreams and your goals and share your convictions as well.
yeah,
That's difficult. That's difficult. That can't be
it,
easy.
it is, but I also got to put myself aside and say, hey, you know what? Sometimes it may not look clear, from the outset, but I got to trust God with this person or that person.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be in line. So yeah, like I said, I'm learning. It's not a flex. It's nothing like that. But I just thank I just thank the Lord that he's taken me this far. You know.
Yeah, when someone says it's not a flex, then it is a flex. Ha! Let me just put that out there. I'm kidding. I'm playing. I'm playing. No, I think it's super impressive, bro. I think then that just like uh rolls out a bunch more questions for me after you have said that. And full credit to the people that have been pivotal in the growth of this thing. Whether the ones that are there now or ones that were there for a brief moment. So like you're saying, you can't take full credit for it. I think no one can. I just think of myself and where I'm at, what I'm doing. Like literally, I have no channel with no people who are willing to give up their time for me to chat with. So I can't be like, oh, these are my subscribers. Oh, I've worked so hard. It's kind of like a lot of work has gone in from different people, and I appreciate that. I see that. So full credit to them. But it's like, so for me, the question now is this thing full time? Are you full time focusing on the channel? Because you're kind of posting content on the regular, man. Like I haven't finished listening to this one song. It's already there's a new one. Let's go. And it's not like you just get an audio, slap a picture on there, and then
Oh
there's
no.
motion
Like,
graphics, there's
yeah,
scriptures,
yeah,
that you put
yeah.
in, that you type out. So
Mm,
it's
it
like, what's my? I'm just trying to crack my brain now. It's like, what's your schedule like if you're working alone to compile these things and do all these things?
oh man. Um. Okay, so yeah, what is my schedule like? So the question is, am I doing this full time? Yeah, I am doing this full time. Um, what my schedule looks like? So I it looks different every day, man. It really does. I wish I could also say that I was one of those people who had a rigid schedule each and every day, and for this and this and this, but I'm not. But I still ensure that I generate or I really get out the same amount of work. Um, so my schedule, I mean, could look very different, but I think you know waking up in prayer, um, checking emails, um, going through, playlisting, uh, editing. Right now, I'm working on finishing up a documentary that I've been filming for a while. Well, filming and editing for a while. Um, yeah, the editing of the platform stuff, social media, going through and liaising, whether it be through calls like this or, through text messaging, etc. Um, working on graphics as well. It's yeah, just different things, man. But always just making time for scripture, making time for time alone with the Lord in the midst of it. But yeah, I couldn't tell you definitively what each and every day looks like, but something along those lines. But always trying to be busy, um, for the sake of working for the Lord, but at the same time being intentional about rest as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like everything you said, especially because I myself don't have like a set schedule. Ish. And I think I need one. I don't think I'm functioning well without a schedule. I'm not functioning properly.
Yeah, it's good to have something, um, but also yeah, some people work differently. People work differently. Um, I find that I'm most effective in my work late at night. Sadly, which doesn't necessarily mean that I'm waking up late either. I still wake up early, but I find that when I'm most productive late at night, which allows for more of the kind of easier stuff in the day. Um, but yeah, everyone's different. Everyone. We also, I know there's this grind mentality that we all have as people. There's this what's it called, grind culture or something, where everybody's just trying to be working, working, working. I'm on my stuff. I'm on my stuff. I'm getting this and this and this and this. It's like, yeah, let's not romanticize that as well. Like,
Yeah.
let's just
Rest shouldn't be overlooked, eh?
mm,
Mm.
yeah, man. So yeah, just some kind of structure is great to have, but at the same time, know yourself. You know?
Mm. I appreciate that, especially the part about knowing yourself and the part about rest. I think maybe once or twice we've actually tried to have the sit down, and because you weren't in the right space for it, and because you weren't like ready for it, you called and you communicated, hey, can we reschedule? And I appreciate that. And it's different than just going on there and you aren't in your right mind. You're tired, you're kind of frustrated, and your mind's not in it. You don't give your best. You don't give your best to your work. So whether it's an interview or whether it's just you sitting in front of a computer and editing, you need to be in the right space for that. So I think I definitely need to learn from it. At first, I used to be so confused. It's like literally what you're saying, grind mentality. Like, hey, let's get it. Let's release this content. We're on a schedule. Which actually just leads me to another question. It's like, because now the more you grow, the more people around you have an expectation. So a very simple one would be when you release content. They're kind of like, if you release every Monday, we want it every Monday. But then what happens now when you go through a rough patch and Monday can't work? Like, how do you navigate through, whether it's 200,000 subs or 50 subs? How do you navigate through being in a space where you now have people who expect certain content from you, whether it's content you've already produced or they're like, hey, why don't you try doing this? Why don't you try doing A, B, and C?
Yeah,
We think we
yeah,
might like that. Do you get what I mean?
yeah. Um, hmm, good question. I think, hmm, I don't. I was recently reading in Galatians. Let me actually get it up because um,
You wouldn't want to misquote it now, would you?
no, nope, no, no.
Nope, nope.
Okay, so Galatians, and this is Paul speaking, right? And he says, um, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God, or am I trying to please people? If I were trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." And I think that speaks for itself. But at the same time, I do want to say that, yeah, that scripture has been at the forefront of my mind, especially in all of this, because like you said, people will come to you, they'll come to you with opportunities, the way that people think or feel like things should be, the time that people think should be, or things should be scheduled, or specifically the posting, etc. Um, and people will talk about things from a very technical perspective, like, okay, this and this formula will work, right? If that was the case, then this platform wouldn't be what it is. Let me elaborate on that. So I remember when I started this, everyone was coming to me like, no, you should be doing marketing, right? You should be doing formal marketing, digital marketing, SEOs, really getting your platform out there. I did none of that. This was the Lord, really and truly. You know, um, I remember, I had a friend who came to me, one day, and, um, he he sat down in my room and he had a pen and paper and he was like, okay, man, just so tell me, like, I see the growth of your channel and, and, and how it's kind of flourished throughout the years. So tell me what you did, right? Pen and paper. And I was just like, bruh,
I'm
I
dying.
was like, bruh,
Ooh.
I could do you better, right? And instead, just tell you my testimony, tell you how good God is, right?
Wow.
And I think he was taken aback because he didn't expect it. He was thinking, okay, technically this and this and this has to go down in order for the platform to do this. But I said, nah, like this is something that the Lord gave me. You know, this is something that um, he has steered me through. So, when people talk about like the formalities of it all and people talk about expecting, right? The, Monday has to be no, that's not how it works. Cause then you're gonna what? You're gonna end up posting music that you don't believe in, music that you didn't feel conviction to post for the sake of the formality of posting on a Monday, you know? So for me, it's always been, I mean, no, it actually hasn't always been. I remember at the beginning when I kind of bought into that, I told myself, okay, I was going to post for the sake of, um, commitment on my side because I knew that I was the type of person to start and stop things at the beginning. So I said to myself, let me just post every day. So I think for a whole year, I posted like every single day. I found music, contacted the artist, posted the music every single day for a year. And bro, like it was great. It was great from a productivity perspective. However, when I look back at it now in hindsight, it was, it was where I was most distant from the Lord because these were just I became so enveloped in making sure I get the post out each and every day than I was spending time with the Lord and actually receiving peace about the things that I was posting, right? So yeah, I found that the more I was doing volume wise, the further I was getting from the Lord and my relationship with the Lord was actually starting to dwindle. So on the surface of it, you would look at the platform and think, man, okay, this platform is doing great, it's flourishing, etc. But the heart behind it, the person behind it is suffering. Um so I mean I had to, and it got to a point where I was just like, Lord, I can't be doing this anymore, you know. And there were times where I wanted to walk away from this thing entirely, many times. But you know, for as long as the Lord really just led me to seek Him, um, I've always tried to be the most intentional I can be about the posting and people's expectations of this platform and of me. Um, and instead just turn to the Lord and say, Lord, how do I make you happy? You know, Lord, are you happy with what's being done? Lord, it may not even look conventional in the eyes of the audience, but Lord, I know this is something that you put on my heart. So I'm going to put it out there. So yeah, um, uh, obviously you've got to have some kind of continuity and some kind of, consistency, right? But at the same time, if I'm not feeling it, and not that I'm being led by my feelings, but if it's not the right season, if it's not the right song, if it's not the right artist, then I just won't. And if people are waiting for a week, if I'm struggling, like really struggling spiritually, and people are having to wait a week, two, three, then they're gonna have to wait a week, two, three, you know, and yeah, at the end of the day, I don't, I don't aim to please man. I aim to please God. And, that's kind of how I go about doing things. And um, yeah, like I said, it was learning that, it was learning.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's this concept of um, ensuring and making sure that you're in the right space, like you're saying. And I think I've seen too many times, way too many times, and you mentioned it as well, where the content's good, and it's consistent, and the people behind the camera watching are happy and satisfied. But the person behind the work is in a bad space, you know. I've seen so many people come out that they're depressed. You know, I've seen so many people, hurt themselves, and you're like, but this artist, bro, he just came off tour. You're like, but he just dropped a new album. Things like this. It's like, but he just started a new brand. How could he do this? How could he be in this space? It's like, I think most probably more often than not, it's succumbing to the pressure of the people around you. It's a million, 2 million fans screaming for a tour, screaming for a new song, screaming for an album. But in the back there, it's quarrels, it's relationships that you need to fix and mend. And now committing time to the album is, like I said earlier, saying yes to one thing and saying no to another thing. So it's like, but you kind of sacrificing other things, and I think probably those things mean much more to you than anything else. But because of lack of a self control and just giving into that pressure, you get wrecked. You absolutely get wrecked. And I think it's very important for you to say what you're saying, so that people can understand that Blessed is more than just a platform. There's a human being with feelings and emotions and a life that's behind that. Whether it's one person or 10 people, there are humans behind it, making sure things happen. And I think it's only fair that we have them in our prayers as well. Their mental health, their well being, their spiritual walk is in check as much as they're taking care of ours. Um, so I appreciate you sharing that, being vulnerable and opening up about that. It does mean a lot. But I did want to ask, and I've always been fascinated by the name of the channel, where it came from, the spelling, everything. It's really dope. Like, what's the story behind that?
Oh man. Okay. So, um, so um, like I said, when I initially started this platform, it was actually under another name, and it was more towards the secular side of things, right? And so the Lord had convicted me about it. So when it was under another name, and bro, I wish I could say that there was an incredible story behind it, man. But honestly, bro,
It's
but,
cool. It's
but
cool.
honestly, man, I, the Lord just put the word blessed. Honestly, the Lord just put the word blessed in my mind, and it was spelled the conventional way, right? And then I remember thinking, man, like, I don't know that this is anyone's ever gonna see this platform. And I was just like, man, okay, let's just take out the E's and see where we go with this. And I looked at it, and I was like, man, that actually works. Um, and and then, cause like, bro, for me, like, I was so much more concerned about the the intricates of the platform than I was the bravado of the name itself, right? So there were times where I was like, man, this is really picking up. Like, should I change this name? Like, and I never felt called to change it, man. So as things are picking, it's just like, oh, I guess this is blessed, and
It's gonna
it's gonna
work.
work. And it's gonna work. And when people are like, yo, like like it's genius, like the da, all this, I'm like, man, this is really the Lord, man, because I just thought, yeah, I was just, yeah, there was so many times where I was even wrestling with myself, wrestling with the Lord about the name. Like, Lord, do I keep, you know? So yeah, I wish there was a great story behind it. But really,
There's really nothing, eh?
yeah, no, it really, I was just like, let me
There's
just
really
get in,
nothing.
let me just focus on it. The name will do its thing, and then the name became a thing, um, and yeah, I'm glad that there are people who appreciate the name. But yeah, that
Mm.
took a while.
Yeah, I think we we might kind of look at it and be like, "There's really not a great story here." But what I know for sure is that God is very methodical, but what He allows and what He doesn't allow, you know. So I firmly believe that behind the scenes, He definitely did put that on your heart, not just then, but allowed it to stay that way up until now for a reason. There is a reason, 100%. And I back that. I love it. I love the ring to it. I love the spelling. I love the fonts. Everything is just it's more. It's just nice,
No,
man.
I appreciate that.
It's really really dope. I really like it.
Thank
But
you.
then you also mentioned that that you studied law, right? And then you mentioned that now you're doing full time. Blessed. It's like what changed? What happened? How did this law student, all the grind, all the sleepless nights, and then just kind of rolling over to something completely different. And then within that, we would love to know if you've ever actually used your law.
Mm, good question. Very good question. Yeah, so why law? I think to kind of take a step back, um, we need to understand kind of where I was coming out of high school. So I don't know, I felt like the years were just just sped by, man. And next thing I knew, I had to pick a career. And I was thinking, man, they didn't even prepare me for this thing. Now I got to pick like my life's career. And I was young and I was confused about what I wanted to do. And all I knew is that I wanted to help people. I had a very strong desire to help people, but I didn't know. I mean, that's incredibly broad, right? It could be anything. It could be almost everything, right? And this is where I really thank my parents for this because they, I think, saw a confused child and really just led me to doing law, particularly because they understood that um, number one, law is helping people, right? Number two, it's stable, right? So it allows, I mean, no matter what happens, you're always going to need a lawyer. No matter what happens in this world, there's always going to be demand for a lawyer, right? So, my parents saw this as a great foundation for their son who didn't necessarily know what he wanted to do, right? So I ended up doing my undergrad and, I, I did it, uh, graduated and I enjoyed it. You know, as I was doing law, I was actually kind of thinking about going down the avenue of, being an entertainment lawyer. And because I was so passionate about media, music, and I thought, okay, you know what? How do I combine the two? Little did I know I'd find myself doing it throughout, or doing it in another space, right?
Yourself here.
Right. But but
That's
I was always
interesting.
trying to find a way, like
Mm.
Lord, yeah, yeah. I think not even Lord, because at the time I was living worldly, but I was always trying to find a way to to bring the music back into it. And I found entertainment law, and I thought, okay, you know what, this is a great niche to really just tackle once I've graduated, etc. So I went down the route. So I did my 3 years, got my LLB, and then went on to do my legal practice course, my LPC, which, if you don't know, it's a course that essentially helps or that you need to do to transition from a student to a practicing lawyer, right? So it's kind of, I don't know what the heck where you guys are, but yeah, essentially you have to do this, or it's technically 2 years, but I ended up doing 1 year because I did the accelerated course. But um, I yeah was trying to become a solicitor, right? Um, and then yeah, I went through did the years worth of work, um, and throughout the year, bear in mind, Blessed was growing and flourishing. And like I said before, it was my outlet to kind of escape the rigor of the law, and all of its intricacies. So, by the end of it, I found myself at a crossroad, where I saw this platform really starting um, to gain legs and just fly. And I had to really make a decision there. It was, do I go down this legal route? Am I being called down this route, or am I being called towards this platform? One has a lot of certain certainty. I mean, the most stability. Hence why I even got into it, right? Because of stability. And the other is very unstable, right? Seemingly unstable. So, I prayed about it, and, I expressed it to my parents, and, uh, yeah, the Lord led me to just give this a shot. I think I always knew in the back of my mind I could always fall back on law, if things got really, really tough. But, um, there was no plan B, bro. There was just plan A, and, and,
You?
and,
Uh,
and I just, it was just a matter of faith and just trusting the Lord, enough to say, hey, you know what, guys, especially amongst my contemporaries, my people, to say, hey, guys, I'm kind of just doing this thing that's kind of maybe looking at a little bit unstable, and foregoing the life of a young solicitor. Um, it, yeah, you can imagine some of the reaction. Um, but yeah, I think I've always been unconventional in some of the things that I do, man. So I don't think it was too much of a surprise. Um, but yeah, that's why I just chose to forego law. My parents, they, I think they understood, but they also,
you
yeah,
think?
I say I think, I say I think because I don't think the thing is when I was starting this platform, I wasn't as expressive about what I was doing, right? So my parents didn't know what was happening for a very long time. They didn't know about this platform that was growing and flourishing, and right. So they only saw really the law side of things, and then, oh, actually, guys, I'm gonna take this route. And I I've never had this conversation with them, which is funny because I probably should. So I don't know how they felt about it. But they saw
That's
but they
crazy.
saw that, they, both my mom and my dad, are just on fire for the Lord. And they were always so supportive. Once they got to understand, they've been the most supportive, of what I do, up to a point where they'll be, amongst their friends. Like, yo, do you know my son has this platform? Like, they'll be plugging other people. It may not even be friends. They'll be plugging other people to this platform more than anybody, including myself, will do. You know, so so I mean, I'd like to think that I'm sure my parents prayed about it as well, and just through the Lord's provision, I was able to really just, give it a go, and get to this point. But yeah, sometimes, the Lord will just have you be somewhere for a season. And, in terms of just the utility of my degree and whether or not I use any of it, I would say absolutely. I would say, um, in terms of looking through contracts firstly. I mean, I used to draft contracts. So I actually back in the day, especially with terms and conditions, I know we all like to just like scroll past that stuff and click it and then we're done. But like, but when you're doing law, you have to you honestly have to look at every single
You
intricacy.
have to know.
Right. So for
Mm.
me, there was a strong um, attention to detail, not because it was innately inside of me, but because I had to learn it through the rigorous course that I was doing, especially uh, towards the latter side of doing my LPC, my legal practice course. So I find, yes, that's where I was able to use my degree, but also in communication. I mean, I used to do like interviews for like hours worth of just interviews prior to like litigation, right? So I found that when I was communicating with people, um, I although I'd like to say that I'm good at asking questions, I became so much better because of what I was doing. And obviously, when you're in law, you're also you're trying to use deductive reasoning to come to conclusions. And yeah, all of that stuff is definitely practice, but it's also great to be proficient in the law. You know, I was doing, yeah, modules, there were intense modules and electives, but also just generally knowing your rights, knowing what you can and can't do, knowing where people may slip things in, um, just reading the fine print where most people wouldn't. I find that, yeah, that's where I'm able to apply my skills. And that's the beauty of actually doing law. It doesn't feel like you've really lost out on anything because it never hurts to be proficient in the law. Um, so yeah, unconventional, I know, but at the same time, purposeful because the Lord was ordering my steps.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna start off by saying it makes sense now how you got to 200,000 subs. And I think that's because your parents. I think we were all saying, I never did any
Yeah,
marketing,
that's
no
all them. Hey,
SEO.
yeah, I say
But
I
it's
did.
definitely the
That my
parents,
bad, my
bruh.
bad. That's what I said. That's why I said I didn't do this alone. I got people around me.
Let's give credit where it's due. Yeah, it's definitely the parents, bruh. Shout out to them. Uh,
For sure. For sure.
but yeah, I've always wondered, man. Like, you're not the first case. I think I've sit down with a photographer now, very successful, very talented at what he does, who studied engineering, bro. And I'm like, do you ever use your skills, man? Do you use your degree? Do you use the things you've learned? And he's like, sometimes it goes beyond just the theory, just being in a lecture and writing an exam. It's the experience of being in that environment. There's lessons that he learned being in that space for that time that he couldn't have learned if he hadn't gone through it, whether directly related to engineering or just life lessons in general. So, like you're saying, just being in a meeting and just communicating and speaking to people are things that you learn through that experience and that you carry forward into the space that you find yourself now. So, I wouldn't love to see it as a waste of time. That wasn't my mentality initially. For me personally, I'm like, ish, I'm doing this degree, yes, but where I really want to be is um, making content. But I'm like, you kind of realize that I didn't bring myself here. God kind of steered my life in this direction. And if I keep focusing on where I want to be in the future, I kind of miss the beauty of where I am now. I kind of miss the lessons of where I am now. So yeah, just taking time to hear what people say has helped me kind of reposition my thoughts about where I find myself in this moment in time in life and appreciate it way more. Appreciate it so much more. Um, but it's been really cool chatting. It's been really dope chatting. I think we've been chatting for a good amount of
I
time.
know.
It's so easy, and I'm,
Yes.
I'm feeling like maybe we should just have like a part two.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But people's attention span is like this much, and you just don't want to chat too much. But I've got so many more questions, honestly. But I'm only gonna ask one, and then we could just like wrap it up. And it's that you kind of started this thing, this blessed thing. It's growing, it's doing its thing, and in your mind, it's just music, right? It's curating, it's reaching out to content creators, collaborating and posting music. But as you've grown, obviously, I can only assume that it has come with new projects, new spaces and creativity that you wouldn't have imagined, being in or being a part of. And my question is, what are some of those spaces and that you value the most? What things are you doing creatively that go beyond blessed or that are linked to blessed but aren't necessarily music related and that you're just like, wow, this is fantastic?
Yeah, uh, great question. Um, some of the things that are linked, I think one thing throughout these years, and I will shout out a friend of mine. His name is Miguel Lugo. He's based in Springfield, Massachusetts. And we found each other through the platform as well. It's a crazy story how we met. But one thing throughout the years that I actually learned to fall in love with what not even learned to, that I fell in love with was um, film. And um, it started with initially seeing a video that my friend Miguel had made. And I remember thinking, like, we can make this kind of stuff and it's not made by big time, like, studios and stuff. Like, is this possible through cameras? Like, I remember seeing some of the stuff, and it's specifically, if anyone ever watches this, it's the Antoine Bradford uh, video that we featured with his brother Alex Lugo. I remember seeing it, and I was like, because I never thought that. Like, I had no idea. I just knew cameras took pictures. Really, I had no idea about the technical side of things, right? But I never saw film or video. I never knew that these cameras these days could produce such incredible quality video that's comparable to a lot of the stuff that you see on the not necessarily the big screen, but like just TV, right? So I remember seeing that, and I fell in love. I fell in love with film, um, and I saw certain elements of my passion for that really pour into the platform, and um, that I guess is more prevalent through like Instagram, but more so, I think the biggest project that I personally worked on was a music video for a friend of mine, Asha Elia, and Nights Like This. I don't know.
Oh, I love that track.
Yeah, no, incredible song. Okay,
Oh, I love that track.
right, right. And I'll give my brother Kofi a lot of shout out for that too, because he was the co-director for that. But I think it was the first time that I really, although I had worked and started to do digital content naturally through the platform, just working with a whole group of people. I remember on that shoot we had maybe like 15, 20 people, all believers, all in the same space, just making this this art for the Lord, and it was just incredible. But moments like that made me realize that I really have a passion um, for cinematography, and the Lord really led me towards doing things like documentaries, really telling stories, because um, with the artists, I know we can do interviews, and interviews are great. But I will also say that there are many other ways to get an insight of an individual, and, yeah, and tell a story. So for me right now, I'm working on a documentary for my friend, another artist. His name is Emric, or EA North. And he has such an incredible story of how the Lord really just took him from the streets of Toronto and brought him to the UK in a miraculous way. And I'm like, sometimes you be listening to a person's music for so long and you won't necessarily understand what they've been through. And I'm like, man, like, let's, this is an avenue that I really, really have a passion to want to explore. So, um, Yeah, this has been it's been a lot of editing, a lot of self-critique, which is part of the reason why it's taken so long. But ultimately, yeah, moving towards cinema, the cinematography space, whether it be the documentaries, whether it be cinematography through music video, again telling stories and really bringing out the feeling behind, or capturing or encapsulating um the the heart behind the song itself. So I've been working with a friend of mine, Isaac Hopes. Don't know if you've heard of him, but such an incredible creative. And we've had many instances of trying to put something together, but we know that it's going to happen in the Lord's time. So obviously video side of things, right? And then, I don't know how much I can speak on, but definitely moving towards initiatives to provide resources for those who are anointed, have gifting, but don't necessarily have the means to really get things started. So, yeah, so for me, like my biggest, even to this day, right? I I still have the mentality that I did when I first started. I know there are all these artists out here and it's great, it's established, it's brilliant, but I'm still back on SoundCloud to this very day trying to look for someone who has one, two, three followers. I promise you that,
We
like,
love it.
I'm trying to, I'm still trying to find that, like, these people who just are doing or making incredible music for the Lord, um, who don't necessarily have a platform. And I want to be able to just say, you know what? The Lord has led me to you. Here is the platform now. And what's great is that it's huge now. But now it just allows for opportunity for people who wouldn't even think, wouldn't even dream of being exposed, to this many people. Um, but I really want to focus in on the discipleship element of things. I really want to focus in on the resource element of things. And that's kind of my passion, or that's where things are kind of pivoting towards right now. Um, and yeah, I say that kind of informally, but there's kind of something that we're trying to build. And I say we, although, like I said, it's me, but it's many other people as well, you know. So that's why I say Blessed is really a family of people than an individual, you know. Um, I might just be the face, and I say might because people don't even know who I am, you know. So, so that being said, yeah, visual cinematography at the same time, resources and discipleship. But right now, um, I also feel like I really want to double down on the gospel, you know. I really want to double down on communicating the gospel, especially in these um, tumultuous times, man. It's just, it's so important that people get to know Jesus through all of this. Um, and when sometimes it can be lost through all of the entertainment, you know. So how do we continue to put that at the forefront? How do we continue to communicate the gospel? How do we continue to, um, yeah, do things unconventionally as well? You know, I know things have been like, for me, I'm a big ideas person, and I'm a big innovator person. I don't necessarily want to do things because it's been done before. I want to continue. I want to explore things.
You're not
That
one for the trend.
no, not at all, not at all. But
Is that why Blaze is not on TikTok?
yeah, right. Precisely.
I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I
but
got you.
but 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 the one thing about that is, I I've wanted to do things that were unconventional. But for so long, I've been so shackled by the fear of man and the fear of perspective. Let's bring this full circle. The fear of man and the fear of perspective, that I haven't actually been able to explore, um, yeah, just breaking out and really doing things that are most pleasing to God, but may not be conventional to the eyes of the audience. And that's what I'm working on, and that's what the Lord is really just placing on my heart. But yeah, let's keep it as simple as that. I know people say that they want blessed shows and all of this, but and I mean, I'm wearing merchandise now that I'm not even too sure that will ever come out in the way that people want it to. Um, right. But all in the Lord's time, and especially with things like shows, like we want to ensure that, you know, I'm more invested in worship than I am performance. I want to be a body of people in a room worshiping God more than I want to be, just person on stage and everyone, oh my goodness, I came here to be da 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 da. No, we're all equal. We're all one. So how do we redesign the perspective of a performance or of a worship night so that God is at the forefront and everyone is on equal footing? So yeah, um, yeah, I hope that answers your question, man.
No, it does. It does. It does. I love context. And you really did give that, and it makes sense. It totally makes sense. Just seeing what else you've kind of been led into creatively, and what that means to you as well. I know I just asked like, what else are you doing? What other projects are you working on? But like, just kind of hearing what it means to you and how it's kind of developed and who's involved in it and what it is exactly. Yo, that's a lot of opening up and sharing as well. Now I'm keen. I'm like super excited to see Bliss grow, bro. Like, um, I personally don't have like crazy expectations. I'm just like waiting for God to surprise us. I'm just waiting for God to work through you guys and be like, whatever comes, man. I'm trusting and praying and hoping that whoever's behind it, whoever's making decision, is well equipped with wisdom, and godly wisdom to just like make the right calls and just like helping this thing grow and continually kind of portray the right kind of doctrine, and just like then ultimately God's name can be glorified. So we love it. We love to see it, and again, truly appreciate you coming through and finally having you on. It's been a long time coming, but thank you for your patience, Brad. Like, for your willingness as well to be here. And like I said, I think it'd be really cool if you came on again and we chatted again some more. That'd be really nice.
Yeah, bro. I just want to say thank you for having me on. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you, man. Always, and like you said, it was a long time coming. But it was in the Lord's time, and it finally happened. And may this not be the last time that we get to have a conversation like this, man. Um, because yeah, I think what you're doing is just so important, man. And even just seeing your other interviews with other people, I'm just like, man, you know what? Luca, and what the Lord is calling him to do is just so quintessential in this space, man. And thank you for just making things comfortable enough to really express what I wanted to and really just share, you know.
That's what it is. It's a platform for the content creators. It's not mine. It's really not my space. It's for them. It's for God, and all the work He's kind of doing through them as well, kind of showcasing that. I think my hope is that we can meet sometime for real, maybe in the future, and actually work on content. It'll be yo. That's a dream of mine, right? It's like wish list number one. Work with T Rance, bro. Like, come on. It's my prayer, right? Nah, bro, it's been fantastic. It's actually been fantastic.